Here we go.
It's the Fall Festival at the Shawnee Indian Mission. A yearly tradition in northeast Johnson County. People come to learn the history of this place. From traditional dances to selling arts and crafts and historical interpretation.
I think we made a difference in the Shawnee Nation.
The festival is a way to connect with people who may not know about what happened here.
Oh yeah, hey
On these 12 acres with indigenous roots, this National Historic Landmark and Fairway is managed by city employees owned by the people of Kansas, and there's intense debate about its future.
I want to thank everyone for coming out this afternoon. It's a real blessing to have you all here.
A week before the Fall Festival, Shawnee Tribe Chief Ben Barnes stood on the same ground.
Today is really not about speeches or talking. It's about this place and what happened here.
He welcomed people from the Shawnee Tribe along with a few state officials.
I'm kind of done talking about this place. The time to act is now.
Barnes again called for a federal investigation to understand if the ground of the Shawnee Manual Labor Boarding School, known today as the Shawnee Indian Mission, held the bodies of indigenous children.
If we wait for fair winds to try to do something, I don't know if we'll ever get anything done.
Barnes wanted to know more about a search for bodies at the site. He was concerned the state would do its own study without tribal input.
Kansas has to consult with tribal nations about how we look for these children. Because if we find a body, what next?
And so, yes, we are going forward with that, and that should happen this fall.
Barnes was concerned the interim state historical preservation director was moving forward with a ground-penetrating radar study on the site to search for the remains of indigenous children.
All we're insisting upon is consultation.
The chief said tribes were entitled to and required by federal law to be involved in that search. But city and state officials claim Chief Barnes did not tell the full story.
We have welcomed doing the search for graves, and that was shut down by the chief.
The plan that they'd worked up wasn't making allowances for that.
The division between Barnes, city, and state leaders in 2022 only grew as the chief became publicly frustrated at the site's leadership.
Some of the activities that we've learned about in this last year, seances happening in these buildings where people are being charged money to perform paranormal tours.
Chief Barnes said city staff allowed paranormal tours. He ultimately resigned from a foundation supporting the mission. City staff stopped any sort of paranormal related event, saying it was a mistake, while also saying the foundation had nothing to do with the activity.
The time to be silent about what these kids underwent is past.
As Barnes kept up his search for what happened to the children here in the 1800s, he also started to question if the city and state were taking care of the buildings properly.
It's $12 to $15 million right now in deferred maintenance. I think a partnership is in order that includes the Shawnee tribe. This land, was taken from our people.
Barnes returned in November.
Oh, I see it, yeah.
He and the state's top historic preservation official, Patrick Zollner, toured the buildings. Peeled plaster showing bricks underneath, signs of water damage on walls. Zollner telling the chief that day the state had plans to restore all the buildings on site.
I'm just trying to imagine what it was like for those kids that slept up here.
Barnes also toured the attic of the East Building, a place where he believes the boys who attended the school slept and suffered in the cramped quarters.
There's quite a bit of daylight coming through this hole over here.
He says the condition of the attic was not being preserved, with holes in the roof allowing water to come through.
Right here, see it right there?
City and state leaders told KMBC9 Chronicle that daylight is the shake roof's natural expansion, saying the roof was not leaking through. They also said they had a well-documented maintenance plan to make sure the site is well preserved, including a plan to repair all the roofs in 2024.
The idea that we're just sitting by watching these buildings fall apart is just wholly untrue.
Why do you want full control and ownership of the Shawnee Indian Mission?
Well, I think our involvement in the boarding school discussion with our brothers and sisters here in the United States as well as in Canada, if we're going to look for those kids, what if we find something?
Over the next couple of months, Chief Barnes amplified his campaign. He pushed for the Shawnee tribe to direct the search for any graves on site and to lead restoration of the site's buildings too, saying city and state leaders couldn't do the job.
You walk through the buildings with us, these things didn't get there in a week or two. It's been years and years of neglect.
The tribe released a 117-page report by the Architectural Resources Group showing roofs needed replaced on all 3 buildings. Brickwork needed sealed, and that west building, the second oldest in Kansas, needed an overhaul after a 2013 water leak.
Water is our enemy, wind and water.
The study's author said his historic architecture firm was ready to help in conversations ahead.
It's important that we preserve those physical manifestations of the history. And that's why it's important that the buildings are well maintained.
And the Shawnee tribe has a plan to fix it. We're the only ones so far with a plan to fix it.
The Shawnee tribe eventually released a $15 million plan to save the site, saying they would fully restore all 3 buildings, welcome other tribes' input, and pay for interpretation, repairs, and staff.
That it would be operated in a way that's completely staffed. That some of the areas that are a little dodgy, a little trashy looking, those are going to get cleaned up.
We operate the site. We're here on a daily basis. We look when it's raining. We make sure the roofs are not leaking.
Fairway City Administrator Nathan Nogelmeyer says parts of the building don't look as glamorous as they could, but if you look at historical records, portions of the buildings not open to the public have not changed in 100 years. He also said the state has a well-defined plan to make sure maintenance is done.
If you also take a close look at this $15 million plan, you'll see that more than $8 million of it is for new exhibits and displays, which have absolutely nothing to do with the current structural condition of the buildings.
What we intend to do is improve that site. By improving that, I mean restoring those buildings to their full glory.
As the back and forth continued, the chief's plan for the future of the site and the search for graves of those kids brought even more questions. This time from members of another indigenous nation, and even more concern from members of his own tribe.
I think he cares about self-promoting. I care about our tribe.